Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Lethal Sales. Welcome some new people too. Nice to have you here. Tonight's topic is recruiting, and who better to start with than Mr. Recruiter himself, Larry J. Feldman.
Right on.
Well, thank you, Rhonda.
Welcome.
Rather than get into a whole lot of mumbo jumbo about recruiting and the difficulties, I'm going to attribute it to I have three guiding principles that have always steered me, I believe, in the right direction. And that's my most important is loyalty. My second most important is sincerity. And my third most important is consideration. Everybody that knows me knows I'm crazy, but I'm loyal to a fault. Man, I am exactly what I am. If you don't like me, you're never going to like me.
And we love you for it.
Yep. And consideration, man, am I living in an inconsiderate world as you all are? But the one I want to focus on is sincerity. We have no sincerity anymore as a society. The salespeople, the candidates, or whatever job you're requiring for, man, they tell you one thing and do another. They're shaking your hand while they already have another job lined up, or they're going to two other job interviews. And to be fair, since what you do to one mathematical side of an equation, you have to do to the other, or the equation collapses. It's the exact same thing with the dealers, because they say one thing and do another. You know, so I think when there's my man Joshua Taylor, when you combine a society of job seekers and job granters who are infiltrated with a lack of sincerity, what the hell are you going to get but the reaction we get now, which is I tell you I'm coming, I shake your hand, it doesn't mean a damn thing on either side. And I think that's the inherent problem. Russell is an employer, but he needs people. And as I said, Darren is a recruiter in Canada, but anybody that's ever tried to hire somebody realizes that it doesn't mean what it used to mean. I mean, I think I feel like everybody on this damn show feels. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. There's no discussion. There's no I changed my mind or now it's inconvenient. So I think without all the other, nomenclatures, I think it comes down to we're a world that has no concept of sincerity. Their word doesn't mean anything. That's the same reason Russell and everybody, you get ghosted all the time. You think you have some kind of contract or verbal contract or purpose, and it just dissipates. So I don't think it's any more complicated than that. And because of the general trend in our society towards insincerity, I don't think it means anything that people aren't reliable. I don't think it offends them. It used to, man, I love the fact that you could always count on me. But if it doesn't mean anything to you that you can be counted on, I think inevitably we're always going to have the problem. And I mean, unless somebody has a better idea, I think that's what it comes down to.
What is that?
So, having said that, Larry, and I agree I agree 100% with what you're saying. The challenge out there is definitely insincerity. And what we have is we believe as employers that our employees have no ties to us. And we believe as employees that our employers will eliminate us as soon as they can. And we go, and both parties live in an innate area of fear. And that fear is crippling both parties. And because we feel that, hey, you know what, they're just going to leave us once we train them and they're going to go to another job, or we're going to invest in them and we're going to do this. So the challenge becomes on truly the true challenge. Once we do the hiring and recruiting and everything else, it's the true challenge is the onboarding.
Right on.
And we fail miserably at onboarding. We confuse a tour with orientation. We confuse orientation with onboarding. we as dealers, and I can tell you 100% that anybody who's been a dealer knows that the opportunity where you actually have the passwords, the business cards, and everything ready for the employee when they show up at 9 a.m. on Monday morning for their first week is ready for them, and you make them feel welcome. No, it's, hey, you know what? I got something to do. I finished up with this meeting. There's your desk over there. Just go get comfortable. Joe sits behind you. If you have any questions, ask Joe until I can get back to you. And then you get out of your meeting half an hour later and you say, hey, okay, let's walk around. Here's this person, this person, this person, this person. And that's what we feel is bringing these people onto the dealership and saying, hey, we're going to throw you in with the sharks, and hopefully you can swim, and hopefully you can swim faster than the sharks so you don't get eaten. And then the other side of it is we actually expect people to remain. Now, Doug sent me an email today with some stats, and the onboarding, we actually have a 20% loss of people in the first 90 days from lack of onboarding. And that is absolutely inexcusable. We spend so much money bringing them on board and bring them to the company. We hire trainers, we hire recruiters, we have HR, we have our managers using up time. We have. It's tens of thousands of dollars. Yet we just throw them away within 20 days. 20% of them within 90 days. It's wrong.
Peter, it dovetails right in. What you're saying is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
the insincerity of the owners and the GMs. Every GM wishes they could put me out of business, because thank God I'm making a fortune with recruiting. A fortune. I'm not bragging and I'm not complaining. I love it. Okay. But every one of them would say, shit, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to deal with Larry Feldman anymore and cut him checks every month? Well, there's a quick way to get rid of me. And I'll just go back to training, which is make your employees feel like they're of value. Nobody wants to feel that they're lost in the sauce. They're not part of it. But once again, everyone will tell you how bad of a problem retention is, and then they don't do it. Russell, I always talk to Russell about this because he's the master with his F&I products to pull these people back through and tie into things. But every dealer on earth cries about retention through service, but they don't do anything to help to tie their service sales department together. So again, it's back to the same thing. If you're sincere, if you think you're going to do something and you actually commit to doing it. Hey, Russell and everybody, Joshua, Doug, how freeing is it to say, I'm all in? Guys, ladies, there is no such thing as a little pregnant. When you can honestly say you're completely committed to something, it's the best feeling on earth.
It is.
Okay. So having said that, Larry, I see in the bottom right corner is my new good friend, Ryan. And Ryan has turned around and left a major player in this industry to move out on his own. And for the one reason, and the absolute reason, is to serve others and to act with integrity.
Wait a minute. Ryan, what do you tell us when Peter's done? Tell us what you're doing, because our goal in this show, other than to have a lot of fun, is to all help each other. So tell us exactly what the heck you're doing and how you're doing it, and you'll see a whole bunch of sincerity rather than insincerity, because everybody on this damn show will help you. Between Kelly and Jeff and Howard, I mean, we got a lot of energy and a lot of talent on this program. And Kelly has a pretty cool bird too.
Like Peter said, there's not a lot of sincerity. There's not a lot of sincerity in this business. So that's what we're trying to change. You know, only the top 5 or 10% have true sincerity for other people. So that's one thing my daughter and I want to change. Just that customer centricity. You know, I spent 30 years on the franchise side, and I've worked for good dealers and I've worked for bad dealers, but I've learned probably more from the bad dealers than I have from the good dealers. So, but I left Asbury. So that was the last corporate store that I left. And, you know, they have some good stores, they have good processes, but still each store is ran individually under the Asbury umbrella. So it all still depends on who your GM is and who your regional director is. You know, the regional directors sometimes aren't necessarily always what they're cracked up to be as well. So I had to get out on my own. I got tired of being managed from 30,000 feet. My daughter just graduated college. I just got my dealer license last week. I've got my auction access, 5-digit numbers. I've got a temporary location. My first sign got made today.
Right.
We're part of 800% Automotive Elite Club with Glenn. My daughter's mentor is Katie Mars, which I think is going to be on the program tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we got some exciting stuff going on. I'd love to capture a franchise down the road, but we got to get this first independent dealership off the ground.
Hey, Ryan, I know a lot of franchise dealers that are getting ready to jump off a cliff. So
Well, I've told
focusing
Peter and
on
I have
used
talked
cars is
about
not the
this.
worst thing.
No, it's not. But Peter and I have also talked about this. The next 12 to 18 months, the landscape of franchise dealers is going to dramatically change. There's going to be a lot of opportunities out there for, I think, some individuals like myself, if they're willing to take the chance and the risk.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, do me a favor after the show, reach out to me. Reach out to me through LinkedIn and I'll give you my phone number. I'd love to
You've
have a
helped
brief
some friends of
conversation.
mine. You've helped some friends of mine. Indy Auto, man, I helped them start a commercial part of their dealership last year, and I think you've helped Indy Auto, man, in Indianapolis.
I've gotten them salespeople texts, and how about they called me up and they recommended me to a guy that has a little shop that needs mobile guys. Man, if there's anything on earth better than repeat referral business, maybe pizza, but short of pizza, what the hell's better than repeat referral business? All this sincerity stuff makes me hungry. You know what I mean, guys?
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, we're
Thanks,
super
Peter.
glad you're with us. Call me after the show. Let's talk. I think we got to help each other, and if nothing else, we'll have a damn good time. Hey, we got my girl Kelly Wilson. She was already one of my favorites before she started recommending people to me. Now it's like we're engaged. Kel, and I haven't heard from that guy yet, but knowing
Larry, you're married, brother.
Yeah, but
No,
Jeff.
no.
You have multiple opportunities, and I mean that sincerely. We're back to sincerity now. Very scary.
Larry's moving to Utah.
I sent the number off to the independent shop there in Colorado, and I also sent your information off to a person who is on the other side of things and is looking to make a change because she doesn't have enough hours where she's currently working. So she's got a ton of experience.
And everybody on this broadcast, please, when you visit other dealers, drive recklessly and run over a couple people. I'm very being proactive that having them have a need for my recruiting services. Just figured I'm sorry, Kel.
We'll stick Louis Apollo on them.
I love it. Kelly, you've been, I first buddied up with Kelly, who, if anybody doesn't know, is just as smart as a whip and just a terrific person. And she's been on kind of some different ends of this because for a while, she showed up on every podcast. She was nice, she was kind, and she was smart as hell. And her butt could not get hired for love or money. So she's also seen on the other end where, hey, I'm here, I'm available, I'm sincere, I'm ready to work. And she got nowhere. So you can also look at this from the end of, hey, I'm the recruitee rather than the recruiter.
Yeah. Yeah. The little bit I got to know Kelly, she does more of the interviewing than the person that's interviewing her because she's very particular, and that's good.
The insincerity that I experienced in the time I was searching for the right position was amazing. Whether if it's not hearing back from companies or if it's even just looking at the job listings and just reading between the lines for the red flags. And I think that also speaks to a lot of, as you said, the insincerity that is out there for how both sides of both sides of the equation are trying to balance protecting themselves, making themselves look attractive, and trying to attract the top level that they can.
Right.
But in that insincerity, they're both setting themselves up for failure. And I think that that was something that really, really struck home with me when I was trying to find the right places and just finding ads that I was like, I don't even want to work for that company, or going through the interview process and the questions and the feedback that I was getting to the answer to the questions I was asking. It just left me shaking my head thinking, that's not a company I want to put my name behind, because
Right.
I am a sincere person. I was actually having a one-on-one with my direct report today, and I was talking about how I have a dealer who is of concern for cancellation, and it's not for a lack of anything that we're doing or our marketing or anything like that. It's their internal, hey, we're having a conversation, buddy. This is why I was on mute. They have an internal culture issue. They've been through a ton of GMs and a ton of GSMs, and I've been asking, how do I have the conversation with that dealer to say, what are your internal processes? How can I help you to refine them?
Kelly, I don't mean to
use
interrupt you, but I can tell you up front, they have no internal processes.
That's right.
When you run through that many
and
people,
that's where
Yep.
it comes down to. So we're at risk of losing a client, not for anything that we've done, but for something that's a problem for them. And I sincerely wish I could get them to have that conversation to improve their store, even when they're not paying us to consult, they're paying us to run their marketing.
Okay, so Kelly, I'll add into that for a second. I'll use my good friend Michael's famous line, "The fish stinks from the head." And it is absolutely the stakeholder that is causing that issue. There is a dealer principal out there that I just saw another ad for his Toyota, or I wouldn't say his Toyota store, his store in Alabama, his 5th GM appointment in less than, I would say, 8 months at his store in Alabama. Yet he states he's the best operator in the country.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Now, having said that,
Whose name's on the sign? His.
Sincerity Motors.
It's Eagle Motors. So anyways, in saying that, and I was going to ask Darren, because Darren is from Canada, and Darren, Joshua's on the line too, so he can answer it as well. In Canada, the number one recruiting site for automotive would be probably not Cars and Jobs, but Indeed. And on Indeed, they have a star rating, and then star ratings out of 5. And the average star rating for a car dealership in Canada is somewhere between 2.4 stars and 2.7 stars. 2.7 stars is 54%. Who would ever want to work in the car business at that rating? If you just looked at it and said, that's 54% out of 100, why? And you're telling me you're a great place to work for? Come on. Like that's asinine to actually believe that you can actually make that statement out there, because it is so far from the truth. And as my wife Gina says all the time, the unconscious incompetence. They don't know that they don't know, so therefore they don't know that they don't know.
Well, Peter, we'll double down with our friend Katie.
Yep.
Who says, if it's not a place that you want to do business, why would you want to work there?
Yeah.
I want to throw in another angle here. I think the car business and every group call I'm on, let's speed things up. Let's make it faster. We got to sell cars faster. We got to get service turned faster. So speed kills in an interview or in a hiring process. I think I'd submit that that's one place where you need to slow down, and disconnect your phone if you're the interviewer, and, don't try to rush through the interview. If they're just doing the rubber stamp and it's a meet and greet, and I know within 60 seconds whether I like this guy, maybe if I like him, but slow down, man. Find out what people are about, and I think, again, speed kills, and Russell's laughing.
But Paul
Absolutely.
Meyer on Sunday
The person
night,
you interview knows that too. They can sense if you're speeding through their interview.
Yeah, they can.
It turns off the interviewee when they sense that the person giving the interview is speeding through it.
Shows you don't care, Ryan.
And vice versa.
It's the equivalent of looking at your watch. Is this going to take much longer? Do you want the job or not? Next, hurry up so we can turn you off and get rid of you.
Peter,
yeah, go ahead.
just to add to Jeff's statement, in my stores, and I was proud to say that we had tremendous longevity. On my 25th anniversary, when I sold off my last stores, I had a half a dozen that had 25 years with me,
Right
plus
on.
many 10 and 15 years. But we followed and we lived by hire slow and fire fast. And part of that process was every single employee that we hired had to speak to 3 managers.
Josh is agreeing. He's pointing, man. He's all
okay. All right. And it made a huge difference because when people joined us, they had met multiple managers. They met, the parts counterman. He met the sales manager. He met the accounting manager, and so on. They were introduced. We ran very tight ship, all process driven. And the beautiful thing that happened, one of the nice things that happened was, first and foremost, going back to what was said earlier, culture building has to start from the top. All right. And I insisted on it. And the culture that we had was all part and parcel to our hiring process, first of all. And what I was going to say is the beautiful thing was the crap got weeded out by itself, because quite frankly, the staff as a whole, go the 80% rule, they didn't want bad people in there. And of course, we screwed up every once in a while. Someone slipped in there. Or even better, they just weeded themselves out. They left. The worst employees tend to leave because they couldn't deal with us.
Exactly.
The people that stayed with us were people who wanted to do the right thing, act in a proper manner, and just have some fun too. But it's all culture building. My door was, I think Jeff, Peter, I explained to you, my biggest store where my office was, my office was surrounded by glass. Everybody could see me on the showroom floor, and everyone in the staff was always welcome to come upstairs. I didn't care if it was the porter in the service lane or my general manager. Anybody can come up to see me at any time. That's all culture building.
Yeah.
And it worked. And I'm proud to say 25 years in business, I never lost money a single year.
Howard, you are, as my father would say, you are a gentleman and a scholar. But since this program is revolving around sincerity, Peter, do me a favor. Next time, invite some guys that are rotten owners. I like when they lose people all the time and they call me every 2 days. How was that for sincerity, Howard?
Thank you.
Well, I know a few dealerships that you're very welcome at, Larry.
Perfect. Hey, you know what? Just because we've got such a diverse crew, we always get poor Mike Larkin last. Let's get him in here. Let's get my boy Joshua. Let's definitely get Darren George in, all the way from the frozen wasteland of Canada. Michael, you're always a keen observer of human nature. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on recruiting, and all the rest of it.
I just checked it out. 18 minutes and 2 seconds if you want to recruit. And it's been viewed by 11 million people. So 11 million people. It's the video on YouTube, Simon Sinek, right? Know your why. And he goes through Apple. Why are they so the people that work for them love working for them? The Wright brothers, how did they on a budget of a bicycle shop in North Carolina be the first to fly a plane when other fellas, and he names the guy that was in second place, he quit after the Wright brothers had invented something so special. He was getting millions of dollars in endorsements and couldn't get the thing off the ground. And he goes into Martin Luther King, and he didn't say, I have a plan. No, he says, I have a dream. What's the belief that you have instilled in your own business to have others follow you and believe in what you're doing? If you believe and your followers believe in what you're doing, others will follow. That's the message.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. You just reinforced
right on.
Right on.
Right on.
Dr. King never said there's a lot of racists in Alabama and Chicago. He led the front of every march. And if you've read if anybody's been lucky enough, as I have, to read David McCullough's, a book on the Wright brothers, the challenges they had and the setbacks, it never stopped them. If you're committed to something, if you can say my whole heart is in this and I'm not going to back up, it changes the molecules around you, because we're so used now to people giving up or not even trying or just having such a fatalistic approach to things. So again, it's the gift that keeps giving. If you really go into things sincerely and with an open heart and think this might work, it just might work. Hey, Darren, what do you have to say if you're unfrozen up there in Canada, my buddy?
Darren's not on the phone.
Joshua,
you're up, my brother.
Sorry, it's not my show.
No, you're crazy. Russell, you crazy. Everybody's welcome.
Well, I have to say sincerity. I really enjoy using that word as often as possible. The second point, the hire slow, fire fast, really, 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 really resonates. The biggest challenge for a lot of leaders in that circumstance, you've got an owner burning. It sounds like there was two stories worth shared there, where there's two stores burning through GMs because they're not going slow enough, and then firing fast because they realize they've made poor choices. The other flip side of that is stores who hire slow and fire slow are burning out the entire team because they're hanging on to cancer for far too long instead of cutting it out. And that isn't just from the top, that's from the bottom too. You've got cancerous parts people, cancerous technicians that just bring down the entire team. It's why, as Peter so eloquently put, that the things through the steps of the onboarding process are so regularly confused, right? Orientation is confused with tour, and onboarding is confused with orientation, and so on and so forth. We have like a 5-day step-by-step written process, not a process, a written process with identified people, identified departments, identified resources, organized in a manner that a new hire, whether it's sales or support or tech or our new department for our client services, it's completely and utterly itemized so that new hire can come on board and just steadily tick off all the things that need to be done on their first day. At 9:01, they're already productive. And I don't necessarily mean in whatever role that they are, but they're already productive, because 9:01, Karen, our HR manager, she is an amazing human being from operational and HR standpoint. There is so much detail in each. And the really awesome thing about having a written process is it removes anxiety over the first day. It's, my God, these people are prepared. They're
onboarding, baby.
Onboarding wins every day. And if you don't have, and this is the secondary part of this, is somebody said, I think, Larry, you had mentioned it, they don't have a process, and that's why they're burning through GMs. Well, absolutely. The challenge is many dealer leaders, service leaders, sales leaders assume that when they have something in their mind, like a 10-step process in their mind, that they have a process. That's a great, all well and good, but everybody else has to know what that process is too. So write it down, at least get it written so that there's some kind of document. The secondary portion is, my God, project management tools like Asana, like Trello, and so forth are very inexpensive ways for your entire team to have processes in place to use easily, multiply, duplicate, and diversify between departments so that everybody can use them simply. Like it's really not hard. It's just effort. So put the effort where you need to be and get a bloody onboarding process.
You know, if I didn't know you, Joshua, which I do, and would you say that with all your onboarding experience with previous endeavors that this was the best you ever went through?
The only place that rivals it was Mercedes-Benz Canada corporate, where there is 2,000.
Well, that makes me feel good too. Okay.
2,000 employees, and it was over a decade ago before online digital project management tools truly existed to the level they are now. The difference was from then is everything was written, and it was a literal binder of things to go through. The challenge with them back then was they had so many people being onboarded at once, you felt like a number.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And one thing else that happens after the onboarding process and all the things that somebody goes through, since we're all virtual, there's 28 of us. We have meetings where we introduce everybody to the new person and make them feel at home. And it's really, I mean, for an online experience and no brick and mortar, I'm really proud of what we've done. And it's people like Joshua that make a difference. So thank you, Joshua.
Yeah, but again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, or maybe a live horse. If I think of you and Joshua, other than the fact that I love both you guys, we've become such good friends, you just reek of sincerity. You guys do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. Anybody that doesn't know, Russell is on a ton of shows. Any normal human being by now would have said, I think I'm going to skip a couple of these shows. But Russell committed to him. His butt is there. So what does it mean? I mean, how valuable is it in a world where everybody's non-committal to somebody that shows up when they're supposed to show up? Doesn't sound like my. Hey, Russell, let me just digress and then I'll shut up. I'm going to do advanced training at a big dealership group.
Excuse me, what kind of training?
Advanced. I have training for guys just getting on their feet, and I have an advanced course. And my advanced course, one of the things I teach people how to do is break a slump, because there's no dealership that doesn't go through this. Your top guy will,
absolutely, right.
And I always show a slide of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he was Lou Alcindor, John Wooden, and Bill Walton. And the story is that Lou Alcindor, he hadn't yet became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, won 3 championships, was the best basketball player that anybody had ever seen in college.
I remember.
And Bill Walton was coming out of high school. He was the most recruited schoolboy, like LeBron James or Kobe. And he got to UCLA and he said, I want to be just like Lou Alcindor. And John Wooden said, no problem, Bill, sit down. I want to show you how to pull up your socks so you can, not get blisters. And he thought he was kidding. This is the most recruited. He says, son, doesn't matter who you are. Here we start with the basics. And if you don't get the basics, if you don't make people feel good and comfortable from the jump, if they don't feel like they're integrated, by the time they do feel integrated, they become disillusioned. It's all about the basics. I love when he said, Joshua, that it was written down, that it wasn't an ephemeral process. It was a process that you could look at and tell if you were deviating.
Right.
Paper to paper, baby.
Who said that?
That was
Identify yourself. Joshua, my man.
Hey, Fred, how are you tonight, my buddy?
Brother, I got you.
Doing good. So Darren, I see you're back. And I had said earlier about the Canadian.
Yeah, I'm back. Hey, guys. Yeah, and just so you know, Peter, I walked away. I live in a condo building. I went down to let someone in, and then I use a hotspot all the time, and I walked away with my cell phone.
No worries.
Okay.
No worries. So we're talking about Indeed and how Canadian dealers use Indeed primarily for hiring.
Yeah, completely useless.
Yeah, and in saying that, if you look at the star rating on Indeed for the average Canadian dealer.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking LinkedIn. Sorry.
Yeah, the star rating on Indeed on the majority of dealers in the Toronto area, they're all 2.2, 2.4, 2.6 stars. Yeah. And at that point, if you look at it, a 2.6 stars, a 54% rating. How do you go work for a company like that, and how do you train staff when you have a company like that?
Yeah, I don't know if it was everybody, but I didn't hear the whole thing, but about the rating stars and stuff. I'll just throw in my 2 cents on the recruiting, because I just finished one in a city, and they sell 200 to 300 cars a month, and they brought in one of the private sale guys on the weekend, and they were so short staffed. I got them 6 people. I just finished two sessions of training already. But when it comes down to hiring the people and stuff, personally, I can hire. And Larry knows this. We can recruit people in any city, anywhere, and it doesn't even have to be in North America. But when it comes down to the rating system, just so you know, I can get 300-400 resumes in 48 hours. And then I put one of my people on it. They screen them all. And then we end up with usually about 30%. And then we cut that down to like another percentage. And Larry, you know that. You can put a bunch of people in a room. But seriously, I've been doing this since 1997. And there is no trick to it. But and I think it was Kelly, you mentioned something about like the back end and like sending out a resume. I'll just give you an example. I have a friend of mine that's got so much experience, and he's looking for a job right now as an F&I manager, and he's solid. He sent out his resume to like over 20-30 places, and all of those HR departments never replied to him. Like, Larry, you've heard of that too, right? It's just like,
maybe they're in the witness protection program. We don't want to talk about HR. No. Keep everything a secret.
So here's a scenario here, Darren.
Yeah, Kelly, there you go. Yeah.
I have 42 years experience in this business.
Yeah.
I started in 82.
Yeah.
Managed dealerships.
Yeah.
I've been a general sales manager of dealerships. I've been a sales manager of dealerships. I've worked import, domestic, high end, low end. You name it. I've had sales successes greater than Ali Retta.
Yeah.
Good. And in doing so, do you think I can get an interview? Do you think I
won't
can
even? Peter, no. I won't either. Peter, if you put Larry and myself, and I'm not sure of everybody else, but Mike, I think you guys all know the business. You put a guy that's, I'm going to say 50 plus, that could do the job in a heartbeat. This is my big beef with what's going on now. These dealer groups have become so big. They've got HR departments with a bunch of 25 and 30-year-olds screening out people like us.
Yeah.
They're deleting you. They're deleting you. And look at Mike's nodding his head. You know what I mean? Like they're just saying, they're looking at it going, oh, well, he's too qualified. Like, what do you mean too qualified? You're 25 years old. You just got a degree from freaking a university, and you're trying to tell me I don't know what I'm doing?
Yeah. Well, the other problem is when we got into the business, there was no need for an education. Now they're saying for a sales manager's position, they want a BA minimum, and then for a general manager's position, they want an MBA. And it's ridiculous.
And I've been telling people for years, the most successful people in the world don't even have a high school education, for God's sake.
That's right, baby.
It's all about emotional intelligence, people communication skills. Larry, I saw you posted something the other day. It is about communication skills and people skills. Listen, I've got a degree in architecture. It has nothing to do with the automotive industry. I mean, I can design you guys a house in a heartbeat if you want me to, but give me a break. You don't need a degree to be a good people person to actually talk to customers. And Larry, you said it when you first started the thing. You were talking about integrity and people and all that. Yeah, 100%, Larry, 100%.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Darren, on the degree stuff, unless the numbers have changed in the last few years, those people that got 4 and 6 year degrees, 92% of them don't even work in the damn field they got the degree in.
They don't even know what they're doing.
No, hell no.
They have no
Mr.
idea.
Hill?
Hey, I'm a proponent of education, though. Okay, I am.
Mr. Hill, for a change, we're going to disregard both of our heroes, John Lennon, and go to Mr. Bob Dylan, who said the greatest line about education ever. 20 years of schooling, and they put you on the day shift. Everybody on this show knows somebody with $70,000 worth of debt, and they're flipping burgers at Wendy's, which I don't think is a requirement to get a job at Wendy's.
I didn't know. Wendy, do you got a restaurant?
Wait, we got Wendy here. Hey,
so
Wendy.
Just before Wendy jumps in, I just want to say one last thing to that. Did anybody watch the Sodu video today on West Her?
No.
Not yet. No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Keyword.
All right. I suggest watching that video on West Her. It's one of the most game-changing videos I've seen on a car dealership group and how they operate.
They're trying to be corporate. They're trying to be corporate, Peter. And what they're doing is they're trying to be corporate entities right now because they're becoming so big. And Larry, Peter will talk later.
West Her isn't. West Her is far from that.
They're in Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like 60 minutes. There's 30 minutes or 65 minutes from me.
Yeah.
What he's referring to, Darren, is they had a giant fair for their people. Everybody's involved, every employee.
Yeah.
They make everybody feel like they're a part of the process rather than a nameless figure.
Yes.
They turned around, and the number one thing that West Her looks for in the operation or the hiring of an individual, does the individual have empathy? Can the individual understand the term empathy? And if they can teach them everything else.
Well, I'm going to go, Larry, as far, I'm not sure what everybody else does for their bread and butter and their milk run day runs, but in my opinion, I can almost train anyone to be a salesperson as long as they're a good person.
They're actually, everybody on the show other than you and me are drug dealers. They are looking for some runners. I'm
not selling drugs anymore, Larry. Get it straight.
Russell, Larry, I talked to Larry this morning. He said, you're the guy to go for.
Excuse me. Everybody's a drug dealer except for Russell, who's the HR department for the drug dealers. Did I say that right?
Somebody's moved into district.
I used to be. That was another lie.
If they were all smoked up and on crack and stuff, they'd probably do a better job.
Hey,
no,
Peter.
they don't. I tried that. It doesn't work.
They'd be motivated to get money.
Yeah, they would.
Hey,
Peter,
we got my girl Wendy who came in, and boy,
yes.
we love Wendy and Fred. Wendy, we're talking about recruiting, the lack of sincerity, how important onboarding is, and how important it is to absolutely positively just make people feel comfortable. Let me introduce you to Howard. Howard ran some of the best run dealerships. The only reason I'm introducing you to him is I'm going to have Rhonda edit him out of the show because he had longevity with every employee. I hate that.
I want to hear what Wendy's got to say because I'm the only one holding a glass of wine and she's been drinking it out of some big jug there.
Well, you're a fool.
I wish
Wendy,
you could read it.
Tell him everybody has to be intoxicated to hang around with me for an hour. It's mandatory.
Actually, I just walked in and I grabbed it. Brother, honey, turn off your speaker.
Come on, it's almost 8 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Somebody mute him. Okay, this says, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, I didn't mean to push your button. I was looking for mute.
I love it.
Perfect.
I love it.
I love it
I
too.
can't see.
So
I don't
anyway,
know.
you know what I'm going to start with? The human side, right? The human side of AI. You guys, if I could tell you, we're onboarding 30 new agents right now from around the
Oh
world.
God. They,
Fred's training them during the day while I'm at a dealer on site
Yeah.
to fuel our growth. And I'm telling you guys, we hire and recruit and place agents with dealers for work from home positions. We have been doing it since 2018. And I can't tell you how many agents are coming back to me and leaving their dealers because of toxic environments. BDC gets all the crap that trickles downhill and it pools and festers in the BDC. And so many people are coming to me. And at this onsite today, you start off, every time I go to an onsite, you start off, you think everything's going right. And I have to explain daily, it's not a straight line, our journey, it's a cha-cha. You go, one step forward, 2 steps back, cha-cha-cha, right? Because if you see an issue with the team morale and with the team dynamic, and they feel patronized or they feel unrecognized or they feel unappreciated, you have to stop and you have to address it before you move forward. Because same with AI products, and they're slow to implement or even sustain newly placed products and tech stacks now. Because if you've got a broken culture, if you've got the wrong people policies, the wrong whatever, no accountability, no structure, no recognition, no appreciation for the teams that are, especially in the BDC, where they're the first point of contact and sometimes the last point of contact through the entire life cycle of the vehicle. We got to treat our people right. We got to listen to what they're telling us. And I do not believe it. Skills can be taught.
Yes,
Empathy, character, morals. I always
All
tell
of
my
it, yeah.
teams, I got 2 things that are non-negotiable: honesty and integrity. And I trust you until I don't.
Yeah.
And that's what I got.
Is your first name Friendy or Wendy or Friendy?
Wendy.
Actually, Jeff
Oh.
Polo did that from Auto Hub Show. Fred and Wendy, #Friendy.
They're kind of like
It's
our version
Angel.
of
Her name is Angel because
Angel.
that's what she is. She's an angel.
Yes, she
I
is.
think there is a thing over your head, looks like a halo or whatever.
well,
Hey,
it's
I
the
got-
reason it's friendly is they're our version of Taylor Swift and Jason Kelsey. It's just like the hot couple,
Wendy,
That's actually
I got
a friend's backyard near the Superstition Mountains in Arizona. That's our friend's backyard. But go ahead.
I used to have an office in Arizona, in Scottsdale. Hey,
Oh.
Wendy, quick question for you. Do you find that the AI software is screwing up resumes and recruiting?
I have no idea.
I'd like to chime in on that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't review them, but my CMO, we recently hired somebody. So she went there. She found 3 resumes, if I'm not mistaken, that was almost verbatim from Chat or Bard.
Yeah, they're brutal, Russell. They're terrible. It's terrible. These AI
Yeah, that's common, Russell.
Yeah, it's not good.
Howard, so all kidding
Where in
aside,
the hell is the originality?
Yeah, when somebody hands me a resume or they say, Larry, I told when I came here without a resume, I always tell them the same thing. I'm interested in people, not pieces of paper. Can they look me in the eye? Can they smile? Do they have some empathy? None of this, it's like everything else in life. We make it complicated. We find situations where the path is clear and straight, and we find a way to put 152 twists in. For anybody that doesn't know, Wendy has a show with April Simmons and Martha and a whole bunch of talented people every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, and it's called The Human Side of AI, because she's smart enough to understand, I understand it, dumb as I am, that as great as the technical advances are, if you don't tie them into you being human, it's over. I had 3 calls today, Russell. All 3 of them started off with a robot talking to me. I still don't know what they were selling because I hung up on them right away. I want a human
Wendy,
being.
I want to get in on this AI thing because it's really ticking me off. Because I am a full crank recruiter. I can recruit in any city, just like Larry. And
Darren, I can help you with this.
You too, Larry.
She has a $400 entrance fee, But if you mail me $200 cash, American, not Canadian, I can get you into the show. When we'll whack it up later. He's Canadian.
I'll send you Bitcoin. I've got Bitcoin. I'll send you Bitcoin.
What do I look like?
Larry,
Guys
Larry,
on
tell
CNN,
Darren the
they're going broke
truth.
next
There's no charge.
See,
No, it's
Wendy, you
actually a
see what
great
happens
community.
when we don't cut Russell in on the profit structure?
Is
I
this
can't even be a
these pod-
sincerely good crook these days.
Listen, Larry,
Right
Larry and Peter. I think some of you guys know me a little bit, but I'm not a big podcaster. I did during COVID. I thought I'd give it a try, and blah blah blah. I've been doing this since 1997, and I love interacting with people like this, and this is gold. So it's so nice. Even that Brian, I don't know who you are exactly, but your Resurrection Automotive. I'd love
Good
to
man.
chat you one day about it.
Brian
tell you what,
is at
You
Class
got
A
a face
people,
for
buddy.
radio, Darren.
Hey, you know what else?
Face
I
for
got
radio.
did you just say I got a face for rodeo?
Radio.
Stop picking on my boy. Hey, Doug.
Okay, F you.
Doug, we're talking about a lot of AI stuff. Doug, give us some thoughts here with all the stuff you got your
I'm
hands
older
on.
than you, buddy, and I still got it.
All right, forget about that. Doug, tell us a little bit
Oh my
about how
God,
you
that's
see
a
the
quaff.
couple tying in.
You're almost pushing a mullet.
So here's my thoughts. I don't know that it's always a lack of sincerity at the dealership. I think that there are people that interview prospective employees that actually feel like where they work is great and that they do have a good store, but they're probably misled. I think what it is it's a lack of vision in our industry. The industry itself hasn't figured out a way to make us more desirable to prospective employees. Most people that take jobs at dealerships do it because they couldn't find anything else, so they decided to settle. And is it any surprise that when they're deciding to settle and something else comes along, they decide, oh no, I'm not going to work for the dealership. I'm going to take the other job. So lack of vision in our industry to say, let's create a career, not just offer jobs. Lack of vision in the NADA and higher organizations to advertise that this is a good industry. Lack of vision at the dealership level to say, wait a minute, we need to change how we're running our business. We can't attract the talent of tomorrow using methods of yesterday, whether it be pay plans or simply how we're approaching business. So those are my thoughts on it.
Hey,
It
Doug,
looks like
Doug,
my
hold
buddy
on,
William Granata is back with
I'll
us
second
after
that
many
also.
months off. William,
let me
William,
just before
hold
William
on. We got my buddy William Granata back with us. I haven't seen him since he hung around with Wendy and Fred and me, and when we were, I think, where the hell were we? Wherever we were. William, how are you? And tell us. We're talking about some of the problems with recruiting and getting people to make sense. William's another guy with all the talent in the world. Reached out to 27 dealers, and he's still waiting for one of these idiots to call him back.
It's true.
All the best, Larry. You know,
Great to see you.
I've been meaning to jump on. Naturally, just been sufficiently obligated, but had a reminder here on my phone, and I reminded myself. I looked at what time it was, and I know we're just at about closing, but just wanted to come on and show my face and so forth.
Terrific to see you, my buddy. We appreciate you. You're always welcome here. Always.
So let me just jump back on Doug's comment. And one of the challenges we have in this industry is that we employ 1 in 5 people in North America directly or indirectly. We are the largest retail companies or industry in the world. We sell more product than anyone else in the world. Yet, how many universities have schools of business for automotive? I know of 2. That's all I know of. How many schools?
One's a college
Peter,
too, right?
Peter, don't push it. Don't push that. I hate to say it. I'll chat with you on the phone later tonight or tomorrow, but don't push that. I started automotive sales college in 1997, and I tried my best to push it. I had an office in Scottsdale, Arizona, Calgary, Dubai. I've had 5 office locations, and it was a struggle to push all of those locations.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but as Doug and I both agree that we're not setting up the future of tomorrow today. We're not doing it.
I agree with you there.
And we're not turning around and yes, I'm 56 years old. I can come back into the car business, work another 20 years, and still shine the lights out of most people that are entering in their 20s. Now,
Agreed.
the challenge comes into play is we have to recruit those people that are going to take the baton next. And we have to show them it is not a business of last resort. It's a business of first choice. And that's the challenge that
I've got a lot of comments on what you just said,
Yeah.
but it'll take up too much time.
It's the challenge is that a good percentage of the people that enter this business are doing it because they need a job.
That's existed forever. Peter.
Yes, it has existed forever, but we can change that because the one reason why it's existed forever is because we have a trust factor in the automobile industry right now that is sitting at 40%. That's where the automobile industry sits. And why is that? Is because the culture that we create within the business that changes the dynamic of the business. Yes, there are the good apples. They're at the top of the tree. But the majority of them are lying on the ground. They're rotting away. They're bad apples. I just looked at the Wide Whale survey, and in the Wide Whale survey, 3,700 franchise dealers fall below 20% response back to their customers. They don't care.
Peter, I'm gonna tell you something real quick here. A friend of mine told me a long time ago, and he's a general manager in a big ass dealership, and they've got a couple stores out in the West Coast. And I used to sell cars with him in the early 90s. And and his name's Doug. So Doug, anyway, but his name's Doug Shorman. And he said the automotive industry has the most undereducated and qualified management teams he's ever seen in his entire life. And I actually said, you got a point there. You know that the sales managers in a lot of the dealerships are really underqualified.
Oh, absolutely. Because how did they get to that position?
And again, that's a huge topic. And
they get to that position because they're hired into that position because they were the top salespeople.
and they should not be managers, and they should not be hiring people. And Wendy's rubbing her face, and she's probably going, "Oh my God, you're right." It's just and Kelly, you're agreeing too. Like these people that are hiring people, the management staff is a complete shit show. Sorry for saying.
But you know what? Something different about the car business that I think is key. I'm a believer in the free market economy, but quite frankly,
where you go, Howard? We lost
Did we lose him?
Oh my God, he was talking and we just lost him.
You lost him. He'll be back.
Okay.
Go ahead, William. You have your hand up.
Now, excuse me for being the Debbie Downer to the situation, but with all due respect, and I know I'm just jumping on, I think sometimes it's a dangerous conversation for us to point the finger. And I think that our job as managers, leaders, people that know better, people that have a level of discernment. And what I've learned in this business is, we could always point the finger. But at the end of the day, and this is where we fall short of this industry, how many stores are allowing their managers or giving them the open permission? And I know training looks different everywhere, and I'm not talking about raw training. The new age generation, as it sits, needs to be sat down and explained what we do for a living, why we do it, and where it has brought us. And really ask this generation, what are some of your goals? What do you want to accomplish? Because we have to realize the same motivations that we had, the same goals that we had are not this generation. So we really have a choice. And the choice that we have is as an older generation, I'm 43 myself, is do we sit and complain and say this generation that's coming isn't going to get it because the generation that came before us said the same thing. And guess what? We figured out a way. So they're going to figure out their own way. It's going to look different, but it's our responsibility to show them why. And it's just like when we say no to a customer, we can't just say no. We have to say no and then give the explanation as to why we've said no so that that's understood. And I think that that's where we fall in this industry. That's my 2 cents.
There's another really big mountain that I think some understand, but we downplay in a lot of ways, especially in our industry, is I'm sorry to say it, but is money is a big deal. You know, the top 5% is different. The top 5% is different than the top 20%, but the other 80% is average. There is nothing wrong with being average in the car business as long as everything is being done to a certain degree of quality and so on and so forth. But those average people make up a large component of who we employ. And I'll give you an example of a technician. Locally, here in Canada, where I am, about 45 minutes from my house is the Alliston Honda manufacturing plant for Canada. And right now, pretty much across the board, they don't hire anybody in any fashion other than full-time contract, 1-year contract, pretty much across the board. They do massive hirings and massive layoffs. But if you get to stay on and you get flipped into a full-time commitment, not a contract commitment, the benefits and all the rest that go along with it are fairly astronomical. But the actual dollars per hour is exceptionally decent. And a technician that lives about 24 minutes from my house, who was a Honda diagnostic technician for 15 years, is master Honda certified diagnostician, and left the Honda store fixing cars to go work contractually at the Honda manufacturing plant for more money per hour with more benefits, more everything, more work-life balance, the whole works. Now, this individual is 35, right? He's a dink with his wife, so he has no commitments for family in that regard. So he could take the quote-unquote potential pay cut, but actually ended up making the same amount of money. He no longer has the stress, no longer has any anxiety about what happens when he goes into work, what happens if he makes a mistake, because he has one very specific thing to do at work, very process driven, everything's written, everything's safe, everything so on and so forth. That's just one option and one example. The second example I will get, and I'll do it really shortly. If you are 18 on Earth right now, you can make more money in your parents' basement than your grandparents could working in their lifetime in a year, from home, with no degree, no college degree, no certification, no nothing. A young teenager, not friend of mine, but a child of a friend of mine, learned Python, the coding language, from YouTube, and is now coding for a living for $75,000 a year at the age of 18. That is what the automotive industry is competing with right now. You have 18 to 25-year-olds that can learn just about anything that doesn't require a safety seal of approval of some description, whether it's certification for safety or a welder's license or something of that nature. They can learn just about anything on YouTube and then go do it for a living remotely. There is very little, if anything, you can do from a dealership remotely on your own time, at your discretion, and learn without paying any money. In the automotive industry, we work 8, 10, 12, 16-hour days. The pay is not even close to the same compensation rate that these 18 to 25-year-olds are making or potentially making. And there's now so many of them that it's no longer just, oh, look at this streamer who's making $70,000 a month streaming for a living. Well, some don't truly still yet understand that it took that person 10 years to get to that point, but they still did it with no college degree, no university degree, no certifications, no nothing, just a passion for what they want to do it full on, and that's it. we have so many expectations of these new people coming into automotive, whether it's from service or sales or whatever the case may be, that we have so many requirements of them, and then don't pay them even close to what they can make down the street at McDonald's. There's a sign down the street during springtime. I bet you in about a month I'll be able to take a picture of it because the local grocery store posts it. It's $19 an hour to start full part-time, full-time if you want to work nights, because they always have night positions open, but $19 an hour to start. There is a dealership up the road in the next town over that's advertising $17 an hour full-time to start. Why would these young people, 18 to 25, come to a dealership when they can make $2 more an hour to support themselves with benefits after 90 days without the stress? So we need to make it way more appealing, and wages make sense.
Josh, a lot of it just depends on the people. You know, if we can inject some sincerity and we can paint an accurate picture, whatever negatives this business has, it is addictive. The people that get in it, it's Al Pacino and Godfather 3. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. It's a challenging business, but boy, is it a fun, interesting business with so many variables and so many different little interactions, way more than you'll have really in any other job or career. But I think we're all pretty much in agreement that we collectively need to do a better job. We need to help the people in the industry do a better job. And I got to tell you, I'm occasionally, like all idealists, occasionally disillusioned, but man, I'm still out there grinding away. I'm having a ball. I'm meeting people. Everybody on this show I've become friendly with, and the people that I'm just meeting, like Howard, I plan to become friendly with. So while I started off saying there's a lack of sincerity, I was talking about everything outside of lethal sales, because every one of you are terrific people. I appreciate you. Peter appreciates you. Rhonda particularly appreciates you because she's filling up the swear jar and get ready to buy her Porsche. Like I said, we're going to try to get Brooke on for Christmas. Then she'll get rich. Okay, with her potty mouth.
I'm going broke because I think I owe you at least 10, 20 bucks.
Well,
yeah, and she doesn't take Canadian money. We're not into that poor exchange rate. Better be American.
FYI, I won't even go to the Canadian money.
Listen, everybody, stay healthy. Howard, I'm going to reach out to you in the next day or two. I'd love to talk more. Darren, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Mr. Granada, it was our shows are always fun. Life's too short. Mr. Granada, please don't be a stranger. Wendy and Fred, so glad to see you, and I appreciate all of you. And I cannot, I really can't thank Kelly enough for running around there trying to get me even more business. And tell your friend to call me. I'm in town till Monday when I go to Florida. She calls, I'll answer, and I'll help her or him any way I can.